Helen Mirren is here. She is one of the most talented actors anywhere. She is known for portraying strong women. In 2003, she was made a Dame of the British Empire. At the 2006 Emmys, she won for Outstanding Lead Actress in a miniseries for her work in Elizabeth I. In her latest role, she embodies Queen Elizabeth II. For her performance in The Queen, she was awarded them and other things. Welcome back. Nice to see you, my friend. Nice. Welcome. Tell me about playing this Queen who's alive and these events are recent.
Well, the most intimidating, of course, the most terrifying prospect. The only thing that made it palatable was the fact that Stephen was directing and Peter Morgan was writing it.
Now, why did it make it palatable that Stephen was directing?
Because they were a team who'd already done an incredible piece called The Deal, which was about the background to the Gordon Brown-Tony Blair relationship before Tony Blair came into power. And it was a brilliant piece of work on every level. The acting, the writing, the tone of it was very, very good, serious but kind of comedic. So at least I felt that I was in safe hands, because it's a hot potato in England. You know, you cannot go anywhere near this subject without being under the most intense kind of scrutiny. It's a hot potato.
You mean scrutiny by the press, or scrutiny by the royal family, scrutiny?
No, by the press, but also by everyone.
By the public.
By everybody.
By everybody.
Everybody knows everything we know. You know, they are so present in our lives. You know, you post a letter, there's a picture of the Queen on the stamp. So everybody knows everything. So it's not.
Yeah, but
like
they don't know. They feel like they're going inside with a movie like this. They feel like that this is something they didn't know before.
Yes, absolutely, but they're measuring it against what they already know. So, do we believe this? Is this plausible? You are dealing. There is nothing new in the story. They all know the story. I'm talking about Britain, of course.
So, how did Peter approach this from a script standpoint?
Well, very unexpectedly. Not how you would expect. You would. I mean, if you were making a film about the death of Diana, you wouldn't normally tell it from the Queen's point of view. That was his originality. You'd normally tell it from, I don't know, you know, all of us, we all saw it on television, didn't we? Yes. So suddenly the idea of going inside, that's what's so original about it.
And also the weird contradiction in England, in Britain, I always call it England, Britain, is that although the royal family, the monarchy, is generally a very beloved and respected institution, exactly parallel with that, we have a huge tradition of satirizing and criticizing and mocking the royal family, and really that's what people usually expect. If you're doing anything about the royal family, people expect, especially if you come from the world that we come from, the arts world, they expect a mocking, satirical kind of take on it. And in a strange way, what was controversial about this film is the fact that actually it's not
mocking and satirical.
Mocking and satirical.
This is unheard of.
Exactly.
This is completely original.
Are you a monarchist?
Well, I'm a queenist, if there is such a word.
Yeah.
Well, there may be now.
It's hard not to admire her. She's clearly an extraordinary woman. Do I think
How so?
Well, Helen explains it rather well. It's all really to do with the generation of our mothers and fathers who grew up in much the same way, with the same sort of values, and their values that have gone in England. So in celebrating her, you're really celebrating your own parents, or the world you came from, that world of self-discipline and stoicism, and lived through the war, and, you know, rather enduring heroic women.
And constancy too. I think that's the other remarkable thing about the Queen is that, and you know, I suspect she's blessed with a lack of imagination, which makes her able to be absolutely consistent and relentlessly, endlessly consistent.
And it's the first time anybody's ever said blessed with a lack of imagination.
Well, you know, imagination is a dangerous thing. It can lead you up in all kinds of dangerous routes. And I don't think the Queen has that kind of imagination. And because of that, she's able to be utterly consistent. This is my perception only, you know, and it's dangerous to go
Probably
down
could
that
say the
route,
same thing about the Pope.
Well, popes come and go much quicker. I mean, how many popes has the Queen been through, for example? You know.
There's so many quotable things coming out of this.
That's right.
So how did you watch a lot of video of her?
Oh, yes, of course.
You read every biography?
I read every biography. Robert Lacey's was very valuable. And actually, the one that I found the most valuable was a book that was written by her nanny when Margaret and Elizabeth were, from an age of about 3 to about 18, they had this nanny called Crawford. Something Crawford. Oh, what was her name? Terrible. I can't. Anyway, she was known as Crawford. And when she was let go, she suddenly found herself without employment, and wrote a book about her experience. And it was considered to be a most appalling betrayal, but it was very valuable. Although it's a rather sycophantic book, actually it gave great
totally
insights.
In praise of the Queen.
Well, the Queen is a little girl at that point. She's not a queen. You know, she hasn't become queen when Crawford writes a book. She has no possibility of becoming
Now, why
queen.
was that the most valuable book? Because you understood what she'd gone through, and therefore...
No, because I understood then her background, her upbringing, and also, much more important, the nature of the personality of the person before she became the monarch.
So what... Go ahead.
No, just so her true character, as opposed to the character that she had to embrace along with the job kind of thing. So it was that I kind of looked at a lot.
For all this reading from watching, help us understand what we will see in a minute in your portrayal.
Well, that inner sense of responsibility, I think, that came, I think she had long before she became the Queen. And there was one little tiny piece of film that I watched over and over again of her when she was about 12 years old, getting out of a car and meeting a dignitary just as a posh little girl doing a posh girl's job, you know. But she does it with such gravitas and seriousness, and I've got to do this right, you know, and there's no smirking, and there's no, you know, aren't I cute, or, you know, aren't I lovely, or aren't I rich and
duty,
posh.
duty.
It's just duty, and she had that, I think she had that naturally as a young girl. You see her with her sister Margaret in those funny, you know, films, and she's always looking after Margaret, saying, come on, but not in a bullying or control freak way, sort of helping her along. Someone, we've got to go this way now, and no, don't run there, and, you know, we've got to be quiet now. So she's got that sense of responsibility.
Tony Blair, I saw the movie that Helen talked about. It was just terrific. I mean, I loved it because I love politics. This is Tony Blair when he calls on the Queen the morning after Diana.
You know, but guesses that are backed up with a lot of thought and research, but nonetheless a guess.
Okay, what's the essence of your story about the Queen and her reaction to the death of
well, I mean, the events of that week were very her son's ex-wife.
Yeah. No, I know that now. But
the events of that week were very dramatic, and they also produced tension between you know, an elected prime minister and an unelected
monarch.
Yes. Well, Blair had come to office promising modernisation.
Don't point at me when you say monarch, Steve.
You may not have noticed, but you played the bloody part.
I know, but I'm not her.
I can see this is going
But you played the bloody part.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So forever
anyway,
now,
sorry to interrupt.
forever now,
He
when
was
we
saying
think about her,
very
we'll
wise
think about you.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, but explain to the audience to make them interested to go watch the movie. What is the dynamic of the Queen and how she responds to this?
Well,
what makes that interesting?
She chose not to, after the day after Diana had died, she chose not to speak publicly. Blair spoke publicly because I imagine he just thought that was expected of him. She chose not to speak publicly for her own reasons.
Which were?
That Diana's family had asked for a private funeral, that she wasn't any longer a member, that Diana was no longer a member of the royal family, that somehow, if all this nonsense was going to be going on in the press, she shouldn't be part of that sort of circus.
Well, she could have done this without it being a circus. Come on, I mean, she could have acted
not really. Not really. And then as the events of the week, as all the people came out with the flowers and, you know, candles and everything, it became more like a circus and drove her into an isolated position. The truth is that Diana's arrival in the royal family must have caused such turbulence. Well, we know it caused turbulence, but it must have been so shocking for them all.
Because she was so young and beautiful? Because she was so modern?
Because she was so modern.
Different?
Because she was so modern.
Yeah.
And because she was like a sort of movie star, and You know, like pop music and Versace and the things that my daughter likes.
She liked, and she was of that.
Yes, absolutely.
Or it certainly became of
absolutely.
that, too.
And then, personally, I think the royal family behaved rather badly towards her. And I think the marriage was the real problem.
And you think?
What about?
Royal family, what your director just said. You think the royal family behaved rather badly about her?
I don't know. I don't know. Because I don't know. I don't know those people. I met Diana very briefly once. I don't know, and I think the whole world of gossip and intrigue and people making statements about who should have done this.
This is what the movie's about.
Well,
you tell it, John. You get your head chopped off.
But it's
Little hornet's nest here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but
now you know what I went through.
But we're dealing with a specific time, and as I say, within that time, we make an educated guess. I don't know anything about Diana. I haven't studied her. I haven't read my research books. And anyway, I think because the whole issue of Diana was so loaded in terms of celebrity, in terms of the press, in terms of the public falling in love with her, falling in love with an image of her. I think it'll take a long time for us to discover the truth, quite honestly. And I don't want to make any judgments either way.
Understood. I lost, didn't I?
I'll go and shoot myself.
You just want to avoid this question.
Yes, whether...
No, but her reasons are very good. I mean, the truth is, it is just gossip.
Yeah. In terms of how the Queen Mother the Queen responded to all this and what she felt about Diana, what she felt about Diana.
I don't think our movie is gossip. Yes. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying our movie is well researched, as I say, very well researched, very deeply thought about, educated guess.
And people who watch this could consider it the truth.
I think of it as a portrait, in the way that when you go and see a painting of the Queen, and every painting is different. We're just doing a portrait of those 2 weeks. It's our sensibility as artists, what we imagine might have happened. It's no more and no less than that. That's different from making pronouncements about what the royal family should have done, what Diana was like, all of that. That's a different thing to me.
You accept the fact this was an accident, nobody was involved in whatever.
Yes. No,
of course.
That's all nonsense.
Of course, it's all absolute rubbish.
Why choose her to play?
Good question. Well, you've just seen the way she behaves.
I know.
Well, what
I don't think I would,
Well, I can see.
But, you have the best choice. I mean, if I could choose to work with two people, and you have done this, Helen Mirren and Judi Dench.
Yeah.
I mean, the only person left is Maggie.
She's
right?
Wonderful, yeah. No, they're classy women.
But exactly, I mean, is that what you knew about beyond her just talent? There was something about the way she is that made her perfect for this.
Yes.
What is it?
Well, she's like the bloody Queen.
I'm a bolshy little girl from Southend-on-Sea. I'm nothing like the Queen.
No, you are. You're very formidable. You're very formidable. You're very formidable.
Oh, grr.
You see, it's going to be a nightmare the rest of the
day. You mean I've stirred up something here and started something?
I'm not normally asked to say it in front of her.
I look a little bit like the Queen.
Yes. So after all this, you come away with some greater respect for her because it is not easy to be Queen, and you carry on a tradition or not.
Well, certainly a kind of a love for her, and I don't know whether it's misplaced. It probably is, but... in playing a role, you fall in love with a person because really what you're doing is falling in love with yourself. So that's a weird thing. But I did, yes, absolutely, without question, a far greater respect coming out of the role than I had going into it.
One last clip from the film. Here it is with Prince Philip, who's played by...
Because, Jamie Crum was saying, you're the sovereign, and she's putting these plastic plates out on this terrible, funky picnic table, and that's what they do. They don't have picnics with servants and lace tablecloths and beautiful cushions, They have their Wellington boots and they go out in the wind and the rain and eat sandwiches.
She likes doing the washing up.
She does.
Yes, she likes
So
to do
it
the
gives her
washing
a
up.
sense of
Of ordinariness, which is, I imagine, what she wants to be all the
As
time.
longs for.
Now, what's the business about her and the deer?
You mean what's the symbolism?
Yeah.
I think that's up to the audience to find. I think many people have different ideas of what that symbolises. We know what it meant to Peter as a writer. I know what it meant to me as an actor. And maybe Stephen has a different idea, and certainly different people in the audience have different. Like, that's a good symbol, actually. That's what symbols should do,
But of course, you're
story.
making a film about. So, I'm sorry, you'll say this is gossip, but you're making a film about a woman who famously doesn't show her feelings.
Yeah.
I mean, makes a virtue of not showing her feelings.
Right.
So I guess opportunities where you can see her feelings are quite hard to find, and you really take advantage of that.
I want to show this.
For the audience.
You once said, I don't mind if I don't have any lines as long as I get to wear a crown.
I like the way you say that,
Yeah,
Charlie.
there you go. Look at that picture. There she is. That's a fabulous picture.
That's a great picture,
You like
yes.
it?
I do. I love it. It's great.
Thank you very much. Lots of people are raving about it, and especially your performance. Thank you for joining us. See you next time.